Hey, it's me. So today, as you can tell from the title, I have recently started a new series on my channel called Nish Commentary. It's supposed to be about Native topics, and this will have to be an exception. Well, kind of. Anyway, the kind of element of the situation that I will be discussing here is regarding Native people. I'm gonna get right into it right now because I don't want this to take all day. Again, this video represents my opinion as an Ojibwe woman, as an Indigenous woman, as an Anishinaabekwe. I am not presenting my opinions as absolute facts. I am not presenting my opinions to be the truth of any other tribes or even my tribe as a whole. In my first Nish commentary video, I stated that I would not be using this series on my channel as like a call-out channel, therefore I would not be stating names. However, what I was referring to when I said I wouldn't be stating names, I was referring to private people that are within the Native Twitter community, or any other Native communities that I would be discussing in these topics, and the people that I will be referring to in this video have presented themselves as public people. Please don't send them any hate or negativity. If this video does motivate you to contact them, then I ask that you be respectful and simply just ask for some recognition and an apology. Would be nice. I have a presence here on YouTube, and I'm obviously a part of the broader Native community, and I'm a member of the online Native community, especially the online Native community that was in conflict with these drama channels before. So when I refer to this online community, I refer to it as Native Twitter. So real quick, if you watching this, if you're not familiar with the YouTube drama community or with Native Twitter, I will say right now that this video might not be for you. These are faces and situations that you're probably not going to recognize or even care about, but if you want to stay for the rest of the video, by all means, welcome. Now, I did make an entire video of this situation, and I'll be linking that in a card right here, as well as at the end of the video and in the description. So, to briefly recap, in October 2019, Dustin Daly tweeted that he was using white sage, to which a Native person responded to and let him know that he was burning the sage too quickly and white sage is in danger. Now, instead of being like, "Damn, really? I didn't know that. Is there anything else I should know?" His response, not verbatim, his response was more like, "Bitch, what the fuck?" This person is also a member of Native Twitter, so their mutuals, including myself, eventually chimed in and tried to educate and inform Dustin about white sage. Keep in mind, we know that this stuff isn't general knowledge. Believe me, we know. We wouldn't be fighting for a spot in this discussion if we didn't know that we suffer mad erasure. Then his friends and all of their fans eventually chimed in as well, usually through the form of sub-tweets or quote tweets. They were all making incredibly insensitive jokes and complaining that they didn't understand the situation, while simultaneously refusing to listen to any Indigenous person that was offering them education. Some Native people even received some downright racist comments, like that we appropriate alcohol, and that we need to go back to the casino or something. I can't remember exactly what it said. I even was called a race-baiting piece of shit for telling Dustin that I, as an Indigenous person and as one of his fans, was disappointed. Now, the original video that I made regarding Dustin did miss a few aspects of this whole experience, but I needed to regard time and keep every detail as relevant as possible. I mainly addressed Dustin, of course, and I addressed Nick and like a small snippet of Paige. At the time, I didn't know who Ashlye Kyle was. Now, I didn't include other things that Paige did because at the time I thought that she was actually going to change. And I didn't include anything about drama and opinions, although her and I did exchange a pretty cringy conversation. So that conversation, it wasn't included because it was really long and it kind of branched off of several different comments, but essentially she was refusing to listen to me because I made one little mistake, which was responding to a tweet that Dustin did not explicitly say was directed towards natives. However, he made the tweet in the midst of his whole white sage situation, and his tweets before and after the tweet that I responded to was in direction towards natives and people who are coming after him about being insensitive about white sage. So I'm not totally sure if my mistake was actually a mistake. But according to her, responding to that tweet meant that I deserved to be blocked by him, and that anything else I had to say regarding my own culture was rendered useless. So I unfollowed and I unsubbed from her. She was yet another person who refused to listen to Indigenous people. Sadly, I didn't capture my conversation with Petty Page, and that was for two different reasons. So the first one is I didn't want to burn up my phone memory. I figured if I ever needed to bring up this conversation again that I could just search for it on Twitter and then screen grab it. And I felt assured that she wasn't going to delete those tweets because she didn't seem to think that she did anything wrong. What I didn't account for was her deleting her account. So the second reason is because I decided to save a different conversation that she had with another native Twitter user. She basically said the same things to them, so I figured that grabbing that was good enough. So she told us that Dustin is adopted and that he doesn't know his ancestry, therefore he's just white passing. No, he is a whole ass white man. Race is a social construct. I know my ancestry. I am involved with my native community. I am white passing. Dustin is not white passing. Now, it was actually my conversation with Paige that led me to research West Indian sage growing in Jamaica, and that's basically because she tried to use her Jamaican identity in order to excuse Dustin's behavior by saying that white sage is a part of Jamaican economy and that Jamaicans grow it and they involve it in their spirituality, but there are a lot of inconsistencies there. And to spare you those inconsistencies, I just want to say right now that just because you're Jamaican doesn't mean you get to excuse Dustin's behavior towards Indigenous peoples of the Northern Hemisphere. Although I'm not sure you would be able to understand not being able to give people a pass for something that involves a group that you were not a member of because you used Fat Joe in your video regarding giving people, non-black people, a pass for racial slurs. Paige, very hypocritically might I add, criticized this native Twitter user because he was smoking a blunt in his profile picture, and marijuana is used in the Rastafarian spirituality, the Jamaican Rastafarian spirituality. To be honest, I find it kind of offensive that you used a comparison of white sage being used in various indigenous tribes' spiritualities for thousands of years to the Rastafarian spirituality that has existed for less than 100 years in order to discredit an indigenous person. It isn't her mentioning Rastafari that upsets me, it's her using it to discredit a native person. So, of course, I noticed that Nick Snider and Dustin Daly and T-by-Ali were all making very insensitive comments and liking very insensitive comments themselves, and I included that in the last video. I never followed T-by-Ali, but I quickly unfollowed Dustin, Nick, Paige, Drama and Opinions, and as well as T-Spell for liking insensitive comments, and Rich Lux and Margot Indigo for their proximity to these channels. Perhaps Rich and Margot both participated in the insensitivity, but I didn't look for their profiles. At the time, I didn't know who Ashlye Kyle was, so she wasn't on my radar. But I have recently looked to see if she got involved, and she did. She was liking tweets that were making fun of Native people's concerns over our medicines that are sacred to our cultures. But if you're interested in the full story and how Dustin, Nick, and T-by-Ali participated, I suggest you going to the first video. So, recently, these drama channels have come under immense heat. And if you're immersed in the YouTube drama community, then I'm sure you know. The heat is for several different things. Alleged racism toward Black people and Asian people, alleged transphobia, proximity to anti-Semitism, doxing, the use of racial slurs, and petty infighting. I'll admit I only know a portion of this stuff because, like I said, I unfollowed and unsubbed from all these people. So the only things I know are what have been reported by these smaller channels. So amongst all this mess, all this drama, all these apologies, there has been immense talk about growing and taking accountability. A whole lot of talk about how everyone makes mistakes and that all we need to do is listen, learn, and do better. These YouTubers have apologized for their past, and they basically stated that they want to move on. However, two things. Their anti-Indigenous actions were a mere 3 months ago. In fact, I consider their everyday to be anti-Indigenous, and that's because they've completely swept the whole situation under the rug. They never admitted that they could have done better. They never apologized to us. In fact, I don't think that they believe that they did anything wrong. Their everyday is considered anti-Indigenous to me because every single day that goes by without taking any kind of accountability is another day of erasure of Native peoples and our voices. I don't believe that a single apology or tale of accountability was made with the whole white sage situation in mind. Just yesterday, Ashlye Kyle made this video where she talked about leaving all this shit behind, and everyone was kind of gassing her up like, "Yes, queen, drama stays in 2019. Yeah, easy for y'all to say because you weren't one of the people that were alienated and attacked in October. Nick Snider talked in his video, which I admit I didn't finish it because I eventually became a little too upset to finish it. But he talked about the situation where Dustin called Martin a mutt and how Paige explained to them why it's offensive and that because they listened, they were able to learn and do better and grow. This is very interesting to me because, Nick, you called us 0.005% natives who must have taken a 23andMe test, which is kind of ironic because isn't that what Dustin did? Anyway, why is this insulting, you ask? Let me tell you why it's insulting. Besides the attempt to discredit our concerns, our knowledge, our feelings, and our culture, but because our blood quantum is such an obsession of the U.S. government and the U.S. population for hundreds of years, When the government decided that scalping and murdering natives was too much, blood quantum became a eugenics practice with the intent of basically breeding out natives into white people with 0.005% blood quantum. Now, if that's too complex for you to understand, let me break it down into a description with less detail. For decades, the US government has measured our blood quantum in order to water down our bloodlines, discredit our claims to our land and our sovereignty, and our very identity as Native peoples. Your comment, Nick, participates in that by fueling the public opinion that we're illegitimate. In fact, the only other population whose blood quantum is measured are dogs, which is yet another reason that calling a mixed person a mutt is dehumanizing. As for the others, I haven't heard a single peep from them, although I find it very interesting that Paige featured my tweet in her goodbye video. My tweet that quickly gained over 30 likes, but in her video it only has 2. I would like to think that she carefully picked up the topics she was going to address and the receipts that she used. So I'm a little curious why, out of all the conversations that took place about that whole situation that my tweet referenced, why not only mine was chosen, but it was like quickly picked up. Now I know this is pure speculation, but I know that she's seen my video regarding Cody Rants, and she remembered the content of the video. In fact, I think that she used some of the knowledge that she gained from it in order to defend Dustin. Like, Paige, if you remember me and there's a reason that you featured my tweet to represent that situation rather than all of the other much more detailed and popular tweets, then I'm not sure I understand your message. The only thing that I really understand is that you definitely remember the White Sage situation, especially because my thread referenced you being anti-Indigenous directly after the tweets you referenced in your video. And for the record, my tweet was not calling you an anti-Semite. I said that you were supporting an anti-Semite. I think that we can both agree that liking and retweeting somebody is supporting them. Oh, and T-by-Ali or whoever still hasn't answered questions from Native people about what tribe she predominantly comes from, despite being asked several times by several people. So Ali, can you please answer so that we know that you're legitimate and not a liar? Because I've encountered so many people throughout my entire life who have lied to me about being Native American. And this is the same for other natives as well. So if you don't answer, I'm just going to continue to assume that you're a liar. And if you turn out to be legitimate, then what was happening was that you were silencing your relatives rather than uplifting them. So I would appreciate if you didn't, speak over large and diverse groups of Native peoples, especially as a white passing person. All in all, these channels have been stating that Twitter is the cesspool of negativity, which can be true a lot of the time. But it's also a place where factual and honest discussions have been made, and a place where accountability has been sought out and education has been offered. Accountability doesn't only happen on YouTube. I feel like y'all are just hating on Twitter right now and referring to it as a cesspool of negativity because you're on the other end of the education and the accountability. I get it, it sucks, but I'm a member of Twitter too, and I've been called out too. I've been offered education, and I've been held accountable. And you know what? I held myself accountable, and I listened to people, and I learned, and I grew. And while y'all preach through these demands, you're refusing to acknowledge what you did in October, how vile it is, and to apologize for it. Instead, you're making general apologies for your past and to everyone you've hurt. Like, no. I still feel alienated. I still feel forgotten. As a former fan, I still feel the hurt that I experience every day living in colonial America, coming from the people that I never thought that I would have to feel that hurt from. I understand that you're tired and sick of the term racist, but I think that it's more so that you're just desensitized to it. I wish you would reflect on the tropes of racism that derive from your actions and from your words. Because racism doesn't only involve the overt examples that are probably in your mind. Racism, even unintentional racism, can be implied, like a dog whistle. And not to be superstitious, but we told you that fucking with white sage can be dangerous if you're not careful. Spiritual warfare isn't exactly my thing, but I can't say the same thing for my guides. So chimigwech for watching, and I hope that this video presented my perspective in a way that will help you understand where natives are coming from. These drama channels need to apologize for how they treated us, and I will gladly respond to them in DMs in order to have a civil discussion. It just really irks me to see them making all of these apologies and all these videos and saying that they're taking accountability for things. They're doing this for everything else, but for this situation, they're sweeping it under the rug. It really sucks that they didn't take this seriously at all. A subject that is incredibly sensitive for an entire race of people. So I think that unless they issue an apology, I can never forget about this. This will always be in the back of my mind with every move that they make in the future, all of these people, and I guess I will just never shut up about it either. So you might as well just make a fucking apology. Anyway, if you are just here to watch this video and you never watch my videos, goodbye. I hope you stay. But if you are a returning viewer of my channel, then I'll see you on the next one. Mama Peak Weapon.